Holidays have hit the sartorial kitchen once again. I am kicking things off with a tropical take on a classic fruitcake, then festive meringue cookies, and last but not least, salted caramel cocoa crispy squares. Why don't you pull up the chair and dine with me?
Everybody, it is that time of year again, holiday season, and I'm busy in the kitchen baking once again. We are starting off with a fruit cake, and this is not just any fruit cake. This is a tropical fruit cake. I didn't want to do just the traditional fruit cake, and when I got to the store, I saw some candied citrus and pineapple, and I thought, you know, let's do something different. So I've already got a stick of butter in here softened. To that I have added a half cup of sugar, and I also want a couple tablespoons of brown sugar. Of course, some vanilla. That's about a teaspoon. And that's the last of the vanilla. And lastly, 1 egg. You just want to be careful when you're cracking that egg open to watch for eggshells. We don't want eggshells in our fruit cake. Then I'm going to come in here and give this a little stir. And just cream everything together. Just incorporate the egg and the sugar and the butter. And it'll almost start to kind of look like a batter itself. Beautiful. We need one more thing before we move on to the dry ingredients. And that is milk. I need 5 tablespoons of milk. I know that sounds like a very odd measurement, but when you're baking, you want to be very precise with your measurements. And that is the last one there. And we'll go ahead and stir this in. Ah, that is perfect. Alright, time for the dry ingredients. Alright, we're going to move this guy here for just a second. And we move on to the dry ingredients. I've got my sifter out. You know, I love to use my sifter when I'm working with flour and things. It just removes the lumps and you get a nice light product. So I need a cup and 3/4 of flour. And I just want to make sure I get an exact measurement, so I go a little heaping like that, and then I just level it off. And dump that right in. And we do that again, but this time we only go about 3/4 of the way up. Perfect. That goes right in. To that, I want a pinch of salt, about a 1/4 teaspoon, and I've got some spices here. I'm going to start with some nutmeg, we're going to do about a 1/2 teaspoon of that. Some clove, and it's really strong, so we're just going to do about a 1/4 teaspoon. And then some ginger. I thought that would play really nicely with the citrus and kind of push us in that tropical direction. So I'm going to do about a 1/2 teaspoon of that as well. And then you just give it a little tap. And what's great doing it this way, all the spices incorporate to the flour, and then as you can see, we've got little bits of lumps here. So it's just perfect, and I can already smell those spices. So good. Get our whisk back. and stir this up. I just like to come in at the sides to just kind of incorporate everything to the wet batter. We want to make sure we get all that dry ingredient in here, incorporate it evenly. And I'm very gentle with it. I always mix things by hand like this because I hate to overwork the flour, because then you get a really dense, kind of chewy product and it's no good. And this is it's almost going to look kind of like a cookie batter. Beautiful. And then I just have a few other things to add in here. I'm going to fold the rest of these ingredients in. So I'm not going to use all these nuts. And these are just some toasted macadamia nuts. I always toast my nuts because you get a lot of extra flavor that way. And then I've just kind of crushed them up a little bit in this bag. It's a fun way to get the frustration out. Because the macadamia, they're pretty big pieces, so I wanted to kind of break them down a little bit. And I'm just going to do about a half cup. This isn't a huge portion here. And then my fruit, some dried pineapples and citrus like I mentioned before. I've just reconstituted them in a little bit of spiced rum. I'm just going to add some extra flavor. It's also going to help make our cake nice and moist. A lot of reason people don't like fruit cake. It's dense and it's dry. And then that spice is going to really play nicely with everything we've got going on in here. And I just need, I don't know that I need all of this. I need about a cup and a half, so we'll see where we are here. Actually, I think I will go ahead and I'm folding this instead of using the whisk, because otherwise these little bits, they're going to get stuck in the wires and it's just going to be a mess. But I just want to like kind of come underneath and turn everything over until it's evenly distributed in my batter here. Right, this looks good, guys. So I've got my loaf pan here. I've greased it and floured it to make sure that our cake does not stick. That would be just terrible. And then we'll just dump this right in. This already smells so good, guys. I cannot wait. I'm just going to kind of smooth this out. Another reason I use the whisk, or the spatula I mean, so I can kind of even out. I want a nice even layer here so our cake comes out the same all around. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to pop this in the oven. I've already got it preheated to 350 degrees. This is going to cook for about 15 minutes to an hour until the toothpick comes out clean. And while that goes, we will move on to our next dish. Welcome back, everybody. Cake is in the oven. It is already smelling amazing. Now we're moving on to some meringue cookies. Now I know meringue sounds intimidating, but it's really not all that bad, and it's just a few ingredients. The hardest part is probably separating the eggs, which I am about to show you how to do right now. I've got a bowl here, and then I've got a little bowl here. That's going to be for the yolks. We do not need the yolks. So I'm just going to lightly crack the egg here on the side of my counter. I want to be really careful to leave as much of the shell intact as I can, because that shell is what we're going to use to separate the eggs. And then what I do basically, just let that drip out naturally, and then we just kind of go back and forth really gently. We do not want to pop the yolk, because the yolk, once it gets into these whites, you're finished. And just back and forth. There we go, nice. Alright. And then the yolk can go in there. We'll save them for breakfast or something. And then let's do our other two here. Alright, we've got the whites, and we just need a few other things. But first, I'm going to go ahead and start to whisk these up a little bit, just until they start to get a little frothy. And I just want this on a medium to low speed. And you'll notice they start to like really get foamy and almost kind of double in size. That's the beauty of eggs. Alright, now with this on, we're going to add our sugar. I need a half cup of sugar, and just a smidge more for good measure. Let that kind of dissolve in, and then we'll move this a little lower here. Alright, we'll turn that off here just for a second. I also need some cream of tartar, and really just a pinch. That's going to help our whites really set and get nice and thick and glossy. I also need a pinch of salt just to kind of balance out that sweetness, and some food coloring. I'm going to use some green food coloring because I want this to have a nice Christmas kind of color to it, and we'll start out with just a few drops. I want to like a nice Christmas tree green. And then we come back here, and oh, look at that color. Yes, that's beautiful. Now we can come up on high, and you can see that it's like almost tripled in size from what it was when we started. And how you'll know they're done is you should be able to turn this upside down, and you have nice stiff peaks. Everything stays in place, and it does. Oh, perfect. So let's go and take these out, and we are ready to plate them up. So I've got a little piece of parchment paper on this little rack, baking rack. Normally I would do these in the oven, but my cake's in there right now, and it is cooking at a much higher temperature than these need to be at. They would burn before they're done on the inside. But I do have my toaster oven. It's going to work just fine. I've already got it preheating on a low temp. Now if you want to get fancy and get the piping bag out and make all kinds of pretty shapes, more power to you. But I'm a little basic here, so I'm just going to take my small ice cream scoop and just take this and plop it. And then if you're real cute with it, you can kind of make like a little peak on top. It's almost like a giant Hershey. This should make, I don't know, close to a dozen maybe. Meringues are also great for like pies and different things. And I just think it's a fun kind of dessert to have for the holidays. Okay, that looks pretty good, yeah. Now I have one more thing just to really zhuzh these up. And that is some little red colored sprinkles. I'm just going to sprinkle these on top just to make them even extra Christmassy. Just a little on top just to give it some color, give it some shine. You know I love to sparkle around the holidays. And there we have it. Perfect. Okay. These babies are ready to go in. Like I said, I've already had this preheating. We'll go ahead and turn that off. They, if you're doing this in the oven, let me get one of my racks here so this looks better. if you're doing these in the oven, they take about 30 to 35 minutes, sorry. My toaster oven is a little quicker than that. So I'm going to set it for about 15 minutes and then check them. And then I can set them for a little longer, that's fine. And then they're going to stay in there for a while and dry out as they continue to cook. And we will come back to those shortly. Alright, moving on to our third and final baked dish. And that is my take on Rice Krispie treats. The Rice Krispie treats, they've been around forever, but they're a little one note to me. It's the cereal and it's kind of ooey gooey marshmallowy. I thought, what's something different we could do? So I've already elevated the fruit cake and I did my version of a classic meringue cookie. So I thought it'd be fun to do a dessert that kids enjoy, the Rice Krispie treats. So what I'm doing here different is Cocoa Pebbles. So I wanted the Cocoa Krispies, I could not find them. These will work just fine. So we're just letting this butter kind of just melt down. And I'm actually going to let it start to brown just a smidge. That nuttiness is really going to play nice with the caramel that I'm doing on top. And then we need the marshmallows here. I use the mini ones. They melt a lot quicker. It has instructions on the bag too if you have trouble following mine. But it's literally about this whole package. I'm going to go ahead and pop this open and give it a little taste to make sure they're fresh. Nothing worse than stale marshmallows. And I'm just smelling this butter. So I want it to brown a little, but I don't want it to like scorch. So it's a fine line. You can see just as it starts to bubble a little bit. Yeah, and you just get a little kind of nuttiness happening. So now we're going to plop in our marshmallows. And we're going to stir these generously. I'll even kind of come in here. I just want to really toss them in that butter so they all start to cook down evenly. Then once it starts to goo together and get almost kind of saucy, then we'll be ready to add the cereal. And you can already see these marshmallows breaking down, coming together. Just absolutely doing exactly what we want it to do. Just a nice homogenized mixture. Beautiful. Yeah, this looks great. Okay. Once you have the marshmallow mixture, we're going to go ahead and turn off the heat, and then we're going to dump in the cereal. And I want pretty much of this cereal. If you want to measure it out exactly, be my guest, but I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. If it's too marshmallowy, you can always add a little more cereal. And I just want to kind of like initially get the cereal coated in the marshmallow here. And you want to really stir, you really want to turn this, get underneath. Because you're going to have some marshmallow at the bottom that's kind of hiding on you, and you want to make sure that it's all well incorporated. And I think we can stand to throw in the rest of this now. That's why I do just a little. You can always add more so it gets incorporated. Plus, I really don't have room in this pot to stir the entire box at once, but this is looking pretty good here though, guys. I'm excited. It's a really quick dessert. Once you get it together, you lay it out. I've got a sheet pan here that I've sprayed down just to make sure nothing really sticks. Because once this marshmallow like hardens, it's going to want to kind of stick. Oh yeah, this looks great. Okay. Beautiful. I would say that is pretty good. Alright, I'm going to move this over and dump this out. Okay, try and get as much out of here as you can. That's going to save you some time later in the sink. I just want to really scrape all of that up. Perfect. Already starting to set a little, so I want to work fast here and just really kind of push it all out. And just kind of go out to the edges. And if you want like really thin layers, you can come out to like this entire pan. I want some pretty generous squares. So I'm going to kind of press it this way. And it wants to stick to the spoon, so I like to use the pan. Let the like sides of the pan do a lot of the work. And just kind of like really press in here. Because once it sets, it's done. It's not moving at all. So we want to be really diligent here with this and get at it. Okay, I think that's going to be pretty good. Alright guys, we are back. Can you believe in the time I've had that cake cooking, I've made some cocoa crispy squares and some meringue cookies, which both are about to come out. These have already set. It's incredible. So I've just got some caramel here. Now if you want to make your own caramel, go right ahead, but for something like this, store-bought is perfectly fine. And then I'm just going to come in here and just give it a little drizzle one way, and then we'll come the other way. Nothing too fancy, just to give it a little something. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut these into squares. Alright, now let's just give it a taste here. And look at that, beautiful, those little layers, and you see the little caramel on top. Beautiful. You have that crunch. But then it's soft. The caramel just gives it a nice little something extra, luxurious, if you will. So good. Perfect for the little kiddos. I'll probably take them with me to the bar tonight and pass them out. Beautiful. So I had that set for 15 minutes. And then I set it for about another 12. And then what you want to do, you should be able to kind of poke at these, and they're nice and firm. Now these need to dry a little bit before they're good to eat, and let them cool off. I'm going to leave them in here just as such and let them kind of finish off. And now it's time to get my fruitcake out. Okay. This fruitcake, so excited. Let's go ahead and grab our timer there. Oh yes. Look at that. Gorgeous. I've got a wire rack here. Anytime I have cakes or cookies or anything, I like to elevate the pan as it's cooling off so air can get underneath and cool it evenly. I will come in here with the toothpick just to double check that we're good, and we are. Okay, moment of truth. I did grease and flour this pan, but I want to see if our cake's going to come out clean or not. And you just gotta flip it. Ooh, did you hear that? Oh, beautiful, yes. Alright, now this cake is coming with me to Bible study. I'm going to turn it over though, because I'm at the top part. I'm going to go ahead and slice it. And I actually want a serrated knife for that. Otherwise we're going to make a mess. Here we go, nice little bread knife. Because this is, we call it a fruit cake, but it's really almost kind of bread-like. So if you cut it with a regular knife, it's going to fall apart. And this is slicing beautifully. It's still pretty warm, but the pan was cool enough that I could turn this out. And I think there's enough here that I may be able to give it a little taste. Because of course I want to make sure that it's good before I take it anywhere to be eaten. Alright, so I've got a little plate here. I'm just going to take this and, oh look at that, beautiful. Almost kind of looks like a biscotti. And then I'm just going to kind of lay these out. Do a little kind of spiral pattern here. And look at that, you have those gorgeous pieces of fruit in there. Ah, so good. Really excited about this one, guys. Yeah, that's definitely going to go with us to my Bible study. But there are a few crumb pieces here, so I can just go ahead and give it a little sample. Let's see here. Get a little piece here with that fruit in it. Mmm. Oh, wow. Yeah. Mmm, so good. Mmm. Oh, yeah. That fruit, it's nice and kind of juicy still. That's why I soaked it in the rum. So it kind of just burst a little bit when you bite into it. Lots of nice flavor. The citrus. This has like peel and stuff. It's kind of candied. So good. Mmm. I think everybody's going to love that. I cannot wait. But we have one more thing to test, and that is our meringues. Mmm. Aren't those just delightful? Now there's a few more on there than when I put in. So when I was cleaning up the mixing bowl, I realized I had a little more left than I thought. So I actually ended up making 16 instead of 12. And they're nice and hard, nice and firm. And I'm just going to, I think I'll pull off this little one here. And it's almost kind of like a macaroon. So you have like the nice hard shell here on the outside. But then the inside you can see is nice and gooey. Mmm. Oh, these are great. And you can make them, you can do sugar substitutes and things like that. So these could totally be like a nice keto. And the egg whites, you're getting protein. So it's a much healthier dessert than your traditional Christmas cookie. That is so good. I'm going to leave you guys here now. We'll check back in at the Bible study as I dish out the fruit cake. See you then.
Alright guys, heading into Bible study. Got my treats. Everybody's going to love them. But I'm going to leave you here. I thank you always for joining me. Please like and subscribe. Hit me up in the comment section. And until next time, bon appetit. Wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays from the Sartorial Kitchen.